Hey, how's it going? Welcome to week 8 of my D&D diary. In the Tomb of Annihilation session this week, I actually ran 2 sessions because not everyone could make the same time. So what I did is I ran 1 session for one person and then everyone else was in another session. What happened was one of my players got split up from the rest of the party, and he's the Aarakocra monk. And the party was headed towards Kursabal because Ajan, the Aarakocra monk, had a job there. But since he got split up from the rest of the party, he figured he could make more ground by flying and make it to Kursabal quicker. And then he could just wait at Kursabal for the rest of the party to show up. So in his session, he flies through the forest. He runs into a few things. He runs into some giant wasps. He encounters the wreck of the Star Goddess, which is like this airship that has crashed. There's a really good Puffin Forrest video on that encounter, but since he was an Aarakocra and he's playing an evil character, it was kind of trivial. He just found these helpless people and left them to die, basically. But eventually, after a couple days of flying through the forest, he makes it to the heart of Ubtao. I should mention, there's an old Cholton god with a name that is spelt Ubtao. And when I was reading it, for whatever reason, I read it as Ubtao. It is not pronounced Ubtao, but I like how Ubtao sounds. It sounds like ominous, and I feel like it fits perfectly for what Ubtao is. So I'm going to be pronouncing Ubtao as Ubtao. He makes it to the heart of Ubtao, which is this ancient pilgrimage site that is suspended 200 feet in the air. And the reason it's called the heart is it has this petrified tree hollow that grows on it, and its stone roots dangle out, and its trunks kind of look like aorta. It looks like an actual heart, right? Well, it resembles like a heart. Being able to fly is like super useful, just because otherwise he wouldn't be able to get up there. But he makes it to the heart and he meets this young elven woman living in the heart. She's not just an elven woman, she's also an undead lich. And so she keeps that a secret for now. She was in the middle of preparing her spells, and so he comes in unannounced, and so she's kind of a little bit upset with him. Then she casts Detect Thoughts and pushes deeper into his mind. She asks Ajan specific questions and reads through his thoughts as he's thinking about the answers, and concludes that he isn't really a threat to her. He doesn't know much about the Soulmonger, and so probably doesn't have a very good chance of finding it. She also mentions a few other things, like the Frost Giants and Aratus Simba, and he doesn't have any recollection of those things, because at the moment I'm just trying to seed plot points. Valindra's goal in Chult is to steal the Soulmonger for herself, and she knows by reading Ajan's thoughts that he also has a similar quest. He tells her that he is headed towards Kursabal, and so she thinks, well, this is perfect, right? If he's in Kursabal, he's nowhere near where she knows the Soulmonger is. And so she grabs him and he consents, and she teleports him to Kursabal, and she teleports herself back. And so he manages to cut out like a large section of the jungle just because Valindra happened to help him. The rest of the party, however, they actually have to walk. They run into a few things. They run into some man traps, which are like large carnivorous plants, and they run into the Flaming Fist. Now, the Flaming Fist control the exploration rights to the jungles of Chult, and so before you go exploring, you have to get an exploration charter from the Flaming Fist faction in Fort Balerion. However, my players didn't bother with this, and so when the Flaming Fist finds them, they're like, show us your charter, and they're like, oh no, we're friends with Liara Porter, who's like the head of the Flaming Fist in Chult. They're like, oh, she must have taken our charter as a joke, haha. She manages to trick them. The Flaming Fist are like, well, okay, well, then we'll have to escort you to Fort Balerion, so that you can get your charter, so that you can continue to explore the jungle. They go with the Flaming Fist for about the rest of the day, and when they stop for the night, they sneak off, and they run into the jungle. They expect the Flaming Fist are going to wake up, know that they're gone, and try to track them. They come to a river that they have to cross, and they initially go in with the Striders, but then they find that it's too deep and everyone's going to have to swim. And so they swim across, and in the middle of the river, they're attacked by Quippers. So they all decide, well, we're just going to swim to the other side. But one of the Striders didn't make it, and the other one was badly injured. And so they just put it down. They run into the wreck of the Star Goddess about 3 days after Ajan had been there, and they just find it littered with corpses, so they just continue on. They end up making it to the heart of Ubtao in about 7 days, but since they have no way to get up, they just camp under it overnight, and that's where we ended that session. In the Curse of Strahd campaign, we're still on the road to Valakai. As it's getting dark, we run into a couple hunters. They're like these famous figures in Barovia, and they're famed for killing lots and lots of wolves. And they're the people who set all the bear traps that the warlock ended up caught in one time. We make our way over, checking for bear traps, and we talk to them and we're like, hey, can we set up for camp here? And they're like, actually, we're just having a meal, and then we're going to Valakai. One of the players, he's playing a bard, but he's also playing a Vistani who already knows the area, and he knows that it's about a 6-hour walk to Valakai. So we say, well, if you can get to Valakai before dark, show us, we'll be happy to see. We would prefer to be in Valakai before it gets dark. And they said, no, we can't show you our secrets. So the warlock comes up with a plan. He gets the bead and the compass that we found in the previous session, and the compass always points to the bead. So what he does is he comes over to the party and he's like, does anyone have any drink with them? And no one did, except for my character Jose, who had purchased a bottle of purple grape mash number 3. And then he challenges the hunters to a drinking contest, and they agree to it for whatever reason, and I decide to join in. So he pours 4 glasses and secretly slips the bead into one of the glasses that he hands to one of the hunters. But this hunter's like, oh no, I always drink from this horn that tells me whether or not a drink is poisoned or not. And so he pours the wine from the glass into the horn, and as it's pouring in, the bead drops, and so the warlock like pretends to cough and make like a kerfuffle so that he can't hear the bead rattling down into the horn. And the horn comes up clear because we hadn't poisoned the drink. There was a little bead in it that was just going to track his location. So we had the drinking contest. We assume that he drinks the wine, and we wait until after they leave. And then we look at the compass, but strangely the compass is like spinning around in all directions. So we think maybe they have like some planar magic, like they're able to go to a different plane or something, because I don't know why the compass would be spinning around. But we sleep overnight at the campsite. Nothing bad happens. It's all good. We continue on the road to Valakai when we come across a windmill. And I remember from our earlier sessions, Dur's house, their family like sigil was a windmill. And so the party as a whole has become distrustful of windmills. But one of the characters' card readings by Madame Ava said that he would find answers in a windmill. And so we go into the windmill. And lo and behold, we find out that it's Agatha's house. And Agatha was the old lady that sold the dream pastries. My character decides to stay outside and wait with the dog Roach. The party quickly discovers that there's something sus going down in Agatha's house. she pretends she's all sweet and everything. Once she was one-on-one with the warlock who had sent her on a mission under a suggestion spell to throw a vial of what he thought was acid at Strahd. She started to force feed him one of the pastries and used a whole person to hold him in place. And so the party stumbles in on this and they start attacking her, and she turns into a night hag. And not only that, but she wasn't alone in the windmill, and there were 2 more night hags that come down and start to fight us. And they make a hag coven, so they have insane spells like eye bite and like lightning bolt and that type of thing. And being a group of 4th level characters, we're kind of outmatched, especially because the wizard is all the way down there messing with some monoliths and stuff. I'm out the front, so I come over, I leave Roach at the door, and I join the fight, but it's just intense. The barbarian smashes the vial of what we thought was acid on Agatha's face, but it turns out to be alchemist fire. The fight goes on for a while, and a few people drop, but luckily we have some health potions in reserve. And with the wizard, since he's made friends with the ravens, and the ravens aren't particularly fans of the hag coven, the ravens decide to help by lifting up the wizard Marek and flying him over towards the battle in great speed, and then drops him down into the building, and he comes in and he starts casting his magic. And that's when we ended the session. We ended at mid-battle just because we'd been playing for about 5 hours and everyone needed to go home. But I'm really excited for next week when we get to continue the fight. I have no clue how we're going to win, but it should be exciting. Anyway, that was this week. Have a good one.